A few months ago, I watched a man die. He had a heart attack in front of 30 or more people. Thankfully, the paramedics who arrived a few minutes later brought him back to life. The whole ordeal from the time he hit the ground to the ambulance leaving the scene lasted an excruciating 45 minutes. When the EMTs left, all I could think about was that they deal with that on something like a daily basis. Later, I found and asked one of them about the event. He called himself and his colleagues overexcited zombies. And of the adrenaline of saving a life, he said casually, "You go into a zone. It's no different than a drug. You get depressed if you go without it." I thought a lot about that brave and tired-looking man's words when I watched Martin Scorsese's 1999 flop, Bringing Out the Dead, itself as intense as being trapped in an addict's fugue state. If, as the EMT told me, saving a life is the equivalent of a fix for paramedics, Scorsese, writer Paul Schrader, and star Nicolas Cage wanted to show a man slowly and painfully dying from the longest and ugliest overdose. And they succeeded beyond their wildest imagining.
Saving someone's life is like falling in love. The best drug in the world.
Cage stars as Frank Pierce, a paramedic literally haunted by the people he couldn't save in his own life.
That I'm sighing softly as I knew.
He's perpetually exhausted, looking every bit an overexcited zombie. His routine is enough to kill a saner man. He begs his boss to fire him. His request is denied.
I know it, but I can't fire you today. I got nobody to write 66 X-ray with walls.
No.
I got a form for you to make out about the accident when you get some time, huh? Come here, kid. Come here. Look, I'm gonna fire you tomorrow. I promise you.
What if there is no tomorrow?
Will you get out of here, Pierce, before I give you a big hug? No tomorrow, okay? I love that kid.
And then he goes out on the graveyard shift run with a different kind of maniac every night, saving people he can't relate to anymore. His fellow paramedics, played in career-high performances by Ving Rhames.
Let's take it. No. Since you young, this is Marcus. Only for you, baby. Only for you.
Tom Sizemore.
This old Bus is a warrior, Frank. Just like us. I have tried to kill him many times, and he will not die. I have a great respect for that.
And John Goodman.
Oh, no! What? I just remembered I'm so stupid. I had beef lo mein last night. I can't eat the same thing 2 nights in a row.
All seem just as bracing and desperate as Pierce. They've just embraced their lot. Cage's insomniac rails against everything. His profession, his patients, their families, his past. And yet there always remains the sense that Frank Pierce belongs on the hellish streets he so abhors. What else would he do if he ever left his post? To paraphrase Dennis Hopper's audition for Blue Velvet, Nicolas Cage is Frank Pierce. Watching him act has been one of the consistent joys of watching movies in our time. The louder and crazier the performance, the better. He's the man of 1,000 ticks, and the more against type and disreputable he can be, the more audiences want to devour his work. Like Cage, Pierce is trapped by his gifts. He can't stop. Now, with the memory of movies like Left Behind still fresh in the culture's memory, Frank Pierce is an important reminder that Cage is a talented man who can't give up what he loves, even if his choices look outwardly self-destructive. He is Pierce, and everything he's known for, from his madness to his tenderness, is here in earnest.
The city doesn't discriminate. It gets everybody. I gotta go. Another call. We're all dying, Mary Burke.
And he's the perfect Scorsese hero because he looks like he's been masticated by the jagged teeth lining the gaping maw that Scorsese calls home. Scorsese made his name filming New York as an inhospitable hellhole with jabbering lunatics and raving demons. Here, New York is at its most classically horrific. Even the name, Bringing Out the Dead, feels deliberately medieval. but Scorsese is at his most electrifyingly modern. Stylized to the hilt, Bringing Out the Dead shows one of the world's greatest directors synthesizing an entire city's extra-conscious masochism into supercharged montage, bleached colors, gory pathos, and one of the best needle-drop soundtracks he's ever assembled.
Lord Jesus, help me get through tonight.
It's a perfect summation of where he had been, and where he would go. The ultimate nocturnal New York odyssey. In a sly way, the film also describes the relationship between an artist and his public. Pierce trying to save people could be read as Scorsese, Schrader, and Cage trying to help people make sense of the world through their art. What else to make of the bursts of magical realism, in which Pierce can hear some of his patients' thoughts as they hover between life and death? Pierce believes he can understand what his patients want him to do. The question is, which is which? Is Pierce the director hoping he can change lives with his film?
Go to the bank, boy. Take out everything you can. Mr. Burke, I'm going. I've had enough.
Or is he the critic, who believes they understand what the artist is trying to tell them? Is film dead or alive? Maybe the reason Bringing Out the Dead failed with audiences was that it veers from broad comedy to utter chaos, with no yellow light to warn them.
10-4, hon. I'm coming, baby. Big Daddy Marcus is coming. We coming. No, we coming. No, not missing. Thank you, Jesus.
Are you all right?
Amen. Thank you, Jesus. Oh, thank you, Lord. Oh, thank you, Jesus.
That is the last time you do this to me, Markin.
It's a film of extremes nestled in a melancholy, cynical tone. But despite its ragged edges, it's a much more hopeful film than it seems. Frank Pierce is the gatekeeper between life and death, a responsibility he thinks himself unworthy of, and yet he, nor his manic brethren, can stop. The sick and dying are all alike in their eyes, and no matter what they think about them, everyone deserves to be saved. Even someone as lost as Frank Pierce. Words like greatest, best, and masterpiece get thrown around so much they don't mean anything anymore. So maybe no one will notice or mind if I call Bringing Out the Dead Scorsese's best film. I can't think of a better way to describe the effects of movies like this. Sincere and crazy and sardonic and beautiful. Than the words of that bone-tired paramedic. It's no different than a drug, and you get depressed if you go without it.